he's my ADA advocate and he's my DV advocate.
Okay, but videotaping?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for coming. Make yourself comfortable. I'm going to probably have to, I don't have any problem. Come on in, Joe.
Oh, okay.
But I probably have to check with Brad because I want to find out if that violates any of the, I'm okay with that because I'm very
An
transparent.
ADA accommodation, if Brad's going to suggest that
Well,
I can't
okay.
have an ADA accommodation, that'd be violating my federal
What is,
rights.
I'm sorry, what is the, yeah, I know a lot about ADA. See my crutches right
I'm
now.
sure you do, so you know that Brad certainly doesn't control ADA laws, and this is my ADA
Sure.
advocate, and this is my DV advocate.
Hi,
How are
good
you
morning.
doing?
That would be
Sergeant.
under
I'm Tim.
Marcy's law.
Nice to meet you. Yeah, nice to meet you as well.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thanks.
I mean, I'm okay with that.
Okay.
So, you know, good. Good.
We're a little early. Do you want
I'm
to get
glad.
started?
No. Yeah, I would.
Okay,
I'm okay. I think
great.
I'm prepared. I went and looked at all the past material, and I wanted to make sure that, you know, you sort of knew what the purpose of this meeting was.
That would be
we
great.
worked a little bit together in 14, year 14.
And 15.
Then we had the trial in 15. And then my job was to do a vocational assessment. I don't know if you ever got a chance to look at the report. I hope you did.
No, I didn't get a copy of the report, but I have your testimony from the transcript.
Okay, all right. And you know, I don't know how you felt about it, but actually, in retrospect, it was interesting because my earning capacity, I don't know if I need to, you know, I'm a teacher at heart, so I like to explain things. So part of this whole issue is when you go through a divorce in California, a judge has to look at the earning capacity for both spouses, the supporting spouse, which would be Mr. in this case, and the supported spouse. And it, you know, it's for everybody. So it's just one parts of the California law that should be a no-fault divorce state, 50-50 state, and a support state. So what we did initially was we met with Susan.
But no, just
Yeah,
to
go ahead.
clarify
Sure.
for Scott, oh sorry,
Sure.
I need to make sure that my phone,
Sure.
it may go off a lot. I apologize. That just, let me just tell them I'm in a meeting.
If I knew you were coming with the camera, I might have put my toupee on.
We have a hat, extra hat, and
No,
the FF hat. I can wear it. Scott, you got the FF hat?
No,
I would like very much for you,
accept-
Mr.
no,
Harper,
no.
to wear an EFF. In fact, I understand that you
Yeah, you
published
put
an
on the
article for the
electronic
San
brown
Jose
in front of your
Mercury.
foundation hat, you know?
You want to wear that?
Well, I don't want to wear it, but I'll take it if you want to give it.
I gave that to Scott.
Okay.
Not giving that one up.
No, don't give that up.
But just to clarify, because Scott is kind of new to this process,
Sure.
not everybody gets someone like Mr. Harper to examine their vocational skills. My husband's paid him approximately $50,000 to.
No, not even close.
How much has he paid you?
Oh, I don't know off the top, but the original reports were about $4,000, and then there would be court fees. So probably more like 14, maybe at the most, I think.
I don't
And then
think-
there's a new round here, which could be another. But up to now, no, not even close to 50.
But obviously, not everybody can afford to
Yes,
have
well, that's true.
their spouse assessed like
That's
that.
true.
So obviously, only people who have money and have Brad Baugh. You do a lot of cases with Brad Baugh. We
I do
discussed
some,
that
yes,
before. You've done the Cheriton case, and you told me that you had assessed Iris Cheriton, and she was an opera singer, and
Yeah, it's a classic case.
so and that was good because I believe Iris Cheriton only was imputed $38,000 for the work, and she
She was a pianist and piano lessons
Her
and all
husband
that.
had $542 million, but it was important to impute her for $38,000, and I think you imputed Diana Dong for $150,000. I've met Diana Dong, and she's actually only earning about $30,000 right now, and she's on Medicaid.
Well, let me just be clear, though. It's just because this is good having another person. I actually like that. I don't impute anything. A judge imputes. What I do is assess the situation, and to the best of my ability, try to assess what a person could do, the kind of jobs that are out there, and what they could earn. And that's what I do. A judge, if it's felt that it's appropriate, might impute down the road, but generally imputation only occurs in a very small percentage of time, because a lot of times people stipulate to numbers, you know, like they'll stipulate to, well, because I'm pretty conservative in my reports, and in fact in my earning capacity of Ms. Bassian, I think we treated her with respect.
I
and
think
all
you
that.
absolutely did. I think it came in
I
around
appreciate
$50,000.
that.
You
Yeah.
said that I could earn money as a office assistant or something, as a salesperson.
Yeah, different areas, because you had a lot of, even though you didn't
Never
have...
mind that I had been in business with my husband for years and years, that I would be, probably all I could do after this divorce would be an assistant.
No, I had about 12, and I have the report here. I had about 12
Could I
careers.
get a
There was
copy of that?
editing.
Because I don't
No,
think
I can't do that for protocol reasons, and I'll tell you why. But I can it's what my testimony was, but I can kind of show it to you. But the reality is, if you say something that I don't believe is accurate, I'd take a minute to.
Yeah, sure.
But,
no, I don't want to miss.
But I treated you with a lot of respect, and you were. See, there was a whole list of different careers, and it was hard.
Can I see
no,
that
I
again?
really can't. But they were things like, from advertising to marketing, communications, business development, sales, and blah blah blah. The difficulty was, of course, that Ms. Bassey was really very smart and in the agriculture industry down in the Salinas area, which is a very unique and different kind of area, and been more of an entrepreneur. She did have that magazine that you had for a while. You tried that, but primarily she hadn't worked in a quote traditional job for 20 years. So that made it difficult. So we had to look at her transferable skills. But that's kind of the past. I went to court, and go ahead.
And let me kind of start
Sure.
there, because
Sure.
I think you need to have some understanding.
Sure.
In 2013, my husband remained operating 2 of our corporations that we'd built in a 20-year marriage.
Okay.
And I had been actively involved in those corporations, brought in the customers, built the goodwill to the corporations, and they have had a court order banning me from speaking with CSP customers about CSP business.
Right.
And CSP business is producing seed for 90% of the Salinas Monterey vegetable market for lettuce seed grown in the Salinas Monterey area, and also Yuma,
huge.
Arizona.
Yeah.
So when you're not allowed to speak about business to 90% of the clients, it restricts what you can do. I
Sure.
opened a seed lab with my partner. The idea
That's
was...
what I wanted to ask you about that. That's kind of after the court thing, or right around that time, but
Sure.
you opened a business, which was, I think that was the reason why, and this is good that we're jumping around a little,
Sure.
and then we will go back, was that when we went to trial and when I reviewed your testimony, that you had said, because I had said 60 to 120 was kind of the range. Judges never take the high, so somewhere around there. And then you had said, hey, I can make 150.
Sure.
And then in 2 years, I'll make 300, because you had this enterprise.
Sure.
You knew the seed business. You're
Sure.
very smart. And you had this thing
And that's what our
evolving.
businesses have generated for years and years because
Yeah.
of the clients I brought to them.
Yeah.
So my husband took all the money that the businesses generated, and I essentially have a non-compete. I'm essentially kicked out of my companies
Really?
with only a minimal amount of pay, and the gag order prevents me from talking to clients. So since that was put in place in 2013, I'm not allowed to speak about business of CSP, which is seed business in the industry. So it's
In your new
90%.
business?
That's what it is.
Are
It's a
you,
seed
is
testing
that
lab.
business still alive?
That business is alive. That
Yeah.
business, I have hired RSTs, which are registered seed technologists.
Uh-huh.
We got the lab operating. My business partner and I invested a lot in equipment and personnel, got them running.
What's his name again? I know I was
Merv
reviewing it.
Selvage.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah.
And we got that business operating. We had some turnover with RSTs. They're a highly qualified demographic, registered seed technologists. They're an aging demographic, and I had to spend a lot of effort to get a replacement RST. We couldn't operate our lab without one. My husband has continued to subpoena my business partner, have him called to testimony at numerous hearings, I believe 5 now, and that has put a strain on my partnership, and I've been limited in my ability to work in the ag industry. So essentially I've been excluded from the entire agricultural industry.
Which is where your biggest strength would be, and where you
For
have
5 years,
Exactly.
because of my husband's order, and he's been
Okay.
allowed to take the money and the profits, which is now considered his separate business. So he's really engaged in torturous
So your
economic
non-compete has
intervention.
really handicapped you to
Sure
go
it
ahead
has.
on this other business and make a living with your business
And
partner.
now for 5 years, I've lost contacts, relationships that
Mm-hmm.
I should have been having in that industry. And so it will be starting all over at the best as an admin type person in the industry if I could get it. And I've
Okay.
lost 5 years of those relationships.
Yeah, and that's really that's too bad. That's a that's a shame, really.
So with not a lot else I could do, I've obviously gone into publishing. And
Well, that's what I want to ask you. Why don't
Sure.
you let me do this? Let me do these, because this will keep us on track.
Sure.
It'll be easy to follow as well, because I gave it some thought yesterday, and then we can vary from the questions. So the first one was, the purpose of the interview. We got started, and that's kind of to go. We met. We went to court in 15. So now it's like, what has occurred since 15 to today in terms of your health, your work, continuing education, and you explain that, which is good. So we'll get back to that. I want to make sure you understand the purpose. So that's that. And then, and you remember my testimony, you already said that you didn't read the report, but my testimony, did you feel it was fairly accurate? And I hope you felt that I treated you with respect, because I always try to do that, and that sort of thing.
To be honest,
Yeah.
you had your associate interview me
Richard was
numerous
involved.
times, and you were asking me a lot of questions about my publishing business and the financial aspects of the publishing business. And I remember you called me one time and asked me if there would be a writing job available for someone you were looking for. I'm aware that you've published articles in the San Jose Mercury, so you would know that writing doesn't pay a lot. I couldn't pay writers a lot of money.
Right.
It's advertising dependent.
Right.
And if you recall at the time, I was also pro-per. And I was representing myself. And I recall asking you on the stand as a pro-per how much time you thought I spent preparing for my divorce as a self-represented person.
Yeah, and that's a job in itself. That's
And
enormous.
you said 50 to 60 hours a week.
Yeah,
was your testimony.
Okay, so at least that was a credible thing.
And we talked about on the stand that
Right.
while you made a report that I could go get all these jobs, the question to you was, did you think I could keep those jobs if I was having to represent myself in my divorce case? And you said no. That was your
Okay,
testimony.
good. Yeah, well, that makes
So I
sense.
think that was
That's
honest
legitimate.
and that was
Thank
fair.
You. Thank you.
Since that time, Mr. Tennant returned to my case in late 2015. Mr. Tennant has spent not only the time defending me without attorney's fees, I owe him $1 million. Mr. Baugh has been paid over $1 million, and Bob Tennant has not been paid at all.
Well, let me ask you a question. So where is the divorce now? You guys haven't, it's not finished?
Nope, we're going to final trial in May.
So
And
there's still
we have a
issues,
motion-
financial issues
Sure,
that
all
haven't
the
been resolved.
all the
my God.
financials.
Okay. Oh, geez.
So if you can imagine, it's been 6 years. Both my houses and my business properties have been sold. Mr. Baugh has gotten me sanctioned, as is, of course, with most every person he is involved with. And I have no money, more debt, and I'm about to declare bankruptcy. On November 14th, I was assisting Mr. Largent in the courthouse in Santa Clara County, reviewing files, and there was an incident, and the Santa Clara County sheriffs broke my hand. And so I now need surgery for my hand. That is my typing mechanism.
Yeah.
And Mr. Largent and I have both discussed that we have a number of PTSD issues related to family court. I have had 156 hearings opposing Mr. Baugh, and I have lost every single hearing. He has won every single hearing. I have helped my lawyer for 4 consecutive weeks in preparing a probably 2,000-page document pressing criminal charges against Brad Baugh. And I've done the editing and the work for that. I'm not a very good editor. My associate, Stephen James, will attest to that I'm not a very good writer or an editor, and that's why publishers hire good writers and editors.
Right, exactly.
So my skills on that are a little limited, and without the money to be able to publish and pay writers and do things, I'm limited in my publishing
Sure,
business
absolutely.
as well.
Yeah. Okay, that all makes sense. So, we remember the testimony, and then I think you already said that you felt that the earning capacity that I had projected at that time was fairly reasonable, and there was a range.
Yeah.
Didn't have too much of a problem
I
with
would
that.
say at that time that would have been reasonable, but
Right.
now with a broken hand and
Yeah, well, that's
being
where we're going. We're
excluded
just
from
talking
the-
about then. I agree. That's why we're doing this, to sort of update it. And then I mentioned that later in August in court that you had said the 150 now and 300. That's because you had the business plan, and you had Mr. Selvage, and you were in the seed business, something you knew, and you were pretty optimistic about what you were going to be able to accomplish. And unfortunately, with the with the non-compete and other issues, that's been a big handicap. Now let me ask you this: so could you, again, if you don't remember, that's fine, because some of this you could turn in later. Can you estimate what your earnings have been like since 2000 and let's say 16 and 17?
I made about $2,500 on the last year, 1 month of 2016 from the Metro newspaper.
Okay, so 2016 about 2,500.
From the Metro.
Okay.
And I had a consulting agreement with an agricultural client that terminated in December of 2017.
Okay.
That had gone through 2016.
Would you make in 17? Do you think?
$2,500 a month as a consultant for.
Okay, so a month. So that's about.
With a loss against my seed business. So while I made the money in consulting, my seed business lost money.
Okay.
Probably about, attributed to me for my ownership, probably I want to say a loss of about $50,000 to $100,000.
Well, so you've been a busy person. I mean, this is important because one of the things the judge looks at is, what you've been doing. And anytime somebody is improper, even if they're not improper, and they have a major case that has the volume, it's a job in itself because you have to do what lawyers call discovery, and lawyers can't do it.
In agriculture, and
Okay.
eventually, because of my limitations based on the court order, I wasn't able to assist my clients in the manner that I needed to, and so that ceased.
Okay.
In 2017, I started a media corporation called Ex Parte Media with a partner, Joe Sweeney, and we intend to do a multimedia publishing and production business.
Oh, okay, all right. So that is still kind of on the table and still bubbling at some point when you kind of get unshackled and you get some idea of what your economic realities are, then you
Unshackled
might
would be a very appropriate word.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I understand that. Okay, so all right, and then you were about half the way on 18, so I imagine that's still the media position. Do you still have some plans if you can get this non-compete dropped to go back with Mr. Selvage and?
I think it will be very difficult to recover relationships having lost 5 years in an
Okay.
industry.
Well, you probably know that because you talked
It's
to
not
Mr.
just a
Selvage.
job, it's an industry.
Yeah,
it's an
no,
entire
I know it
industry.
pretty well down there. I've been involved. I did a lot of consulting in Salinas.
So imagine
Fresh
if you
Western
weren't allowed
and
to talk
Fresh
to
Express.
90% of those clients.
Oh yeah, no, I understand. Sure, yeah, and it's a small world down there. They all talk. They all know each
Sure,
other. So.
of course. And if you're not around and you're not in those conversations, you're out.
Yeah. That would be a problem. Okay, all right. Okay, I think I'm asking these, but I think we've already covered some of them. Did you start a business with Mervyn Selvage called Seedex? I
Yes.
think you said you did, and it's still alive, but
It's probably going to, it's now reduced. We lost another RST, and we're probably going to close the business
excuse me.
operation and sell, or I'll sell my interest for a loss.
Okay, all right. So right now it's kind of not anything value that you have.
And Ex Parte hasn't generated any income yet.
What was your duties back then? Your job title and duties at the CDEX?
Marketing and sales.
Oh, okay. Which is something you know
And
about.
CFO.
Okay. All right. You never got a draw or whatever? It was all going to be based on what you earned, and then at some point you'd pull some money when you got a stream
And we
going.
had to basically use our own money to fund a lot of the expenses.
Okay. Were you, and this would be helpful too, looking at how you divide your time. I mean, you're very entrepreneurial, and you got the court activity, and you said the 165 court dates and all the preparation and all those.
156.
150 was okay. It was close, but anyway, you've been pretty involved. So your average day would be like what? What would you say?
Well, today,
You got court related.
went to a court protest and photographed it for the last 2 hours. Now I'm court ordered to be here.
Okay.
In the afternoon, I'll do some editing and production with my associates, and
Okay.
then I will be finishing.
The editing and production, is that with the ex parte?
Yes,
and what is your
Stephen
con-
James is my associate.
Okay, and what is your concept there? What do you hope to? Who's your market, and what do you hope to do?
Well, we hope to be covering family court issues in
Ah,
the state
okay,
of
all
California.
right, okay.
And
Interesting.
we have been to, I have formal training. Last summer, Mr. James and I attended the society, no, that was investigative reporters and editors, and learned interviewing skills, investigative skills, and things that my magazine had not previously done. And we attend symposiums. I brought some of the receipts from that if you wanted to see that. Last weekend I attended a symposium all day on a Saturday. Most of my training in that area happens on weekends and in my free time. And then I usually work in the evenings until as late as 1 or 2 in the morning interviewing people and responding to emails.
Would this be mostly a California
Yes.
type business? So.
Yes.
And do you see it as something? How would the excuse me, the business model? How would you get revenue from the services and the information you provide.
Publishing revenue has
Excuse me.
shifted significantly from traditional ad sales over to donors, and so publishing content that readers want and that donors are interested in would be something we would be looking to fund the publication and the production company.
So there would be there would be various sources of, I mean, income, and there might be, like you say, donors or people that believe that it's
They
a
work through a lot
good
of
thing.
nonprofits.
Yeah.
If you know, Steve Jobs' widow has recently started a number of endeavors to promote journalism and to import.
Good.
And so we believe strongly, and I'm one that believes also
Okay.
in supporting writers, investigative reporters, and that's a critical part of our democracy, and I intend
Good for
to
you.
spend my time doing that.
Good for you. And you have, bringing me some water, I'm choking here.
I hear you.
So, we have Mr. Zuckerberg testifying in front of Congress today, so there's a lot,
Yeah.
going to be a lot going on about, different models.
People are going to find out, he got to do his model, and he had a lot of money to do it with, and now the American people are pretty upset that they've been being spied on, and elections interfered with it. So
Yeah.
there will be shifts in how things are covered, and I think investigative
bet.
reporting is very important to be able to expose that. So.
Well, that's good. So you have you've been an entrepreneur most of your life, so you've been involved with entrepreneurial and the different seed enterprises. You had the business with Mr. Selvage. Your hands were tied there because of the non-compete, plus being so involved in running your own divorce.
Correct.
Plus then starting the ex parte, being involved in activities and things that are starting to give that some legs, if you will, and
Sure.
that sort of thing. All right.
And one more thing that you should know that is a little bit of a burden to my publishing business is Mr. Baugh and Mr. Bassey had me declared vexatious in 2016.
I remember that.
So after representing myself, I was declared vexatious.
So what does that actually mean? I mean, I know
means
what the
that
word
you-
means, but what does it mean in terms of how you're treated and all
It means that you don't have access to the courts. You must have a lawyer file a court lawsuit. And in publishing, public records requests are very important. And public agencies don't usually comply as they should.
Yeah.
And being declared vexatious in publishing also impairs my ability to operate that business because most small publishing businesses can file writs or lawsuits for agencies that aren't complying with
Yeah.
records requests, and I don't have the ability to do that. So that puts an incredible burden on my partners and limits me in the publishing business.
And how old are you now,
I'm
Susan?
53.
Okay, 53. Boy, you could almost go to law school with all the knowledge you have and stuff. Family law, public policy type
Probably
person.
Mr. Bassey would have been better served investing in me going to law school and being able to be a lawyer.
Well, you'd have
instead
been
of-
natural at that. You'd be great at it, I'm sure. So, all right. Okay, so the CFO at CEDEX, you already mentioned that. And then at one time, did you own 10% of that business? And what is your current ownership? You've already,
Of CEDEX.
you've already said that it's kind of not showing anything. So
I believe
10 or
I
20% of
gave-
nothing is nothing.
Right. When we invested in it, my children had percentages, and I think my percentage was about 25%
Okay,
total.
all right, okay.
And 25% of the loss is now mine.
So I think going back, now this is really going back in your life through about 90 and 96 when you worked in that W-2 position. You were, I think, with Lanier, and then you were with another American
Cyanamide.
and then Agricoat.
Yes.
Do you remember what the ceiling or what your range, kind of what your earnings were around
Agricoat
there?
was a community-owned business,
Okay.
and my husband was in charge of it, and
Uh-huh.
he decided how I was going to be paid, and it was usually paid as consulting income or to our other business, CSP.
Okay. Do you know what that amounted to roughly?
I don't recall.
Okay.
He would have those records.
Okay.
so
And then
I've
what
never
about
seen them.
Lanier and when you were kind of you were a
believe-
hot shot when you got out of school.
I believe Lanier in 1986 was $18,000 a year.
Okay. Okay. How's your health?
I have a broken hand that needs to be surgically repaired, and
Okay.
I understand I'll be out for 6 weeks.
Okay.
I am suffering from some symptoms related to PTSD, related to family court issues.
Well, so on the hand thing, is that there was an incident with the sheriff at the, so that's going to be a lawsuit too. So I would imagine you're going to be tied up in another lawsuit trying to get some justice and
I
compensation.
have a civil
from
rights
that.
lawsuit
Yeah, yeah.
pending that will be filed against the Santa Clara County Sheriffs.
So the future is, even when you get this family law thing settled, and you kind of take a look at, well, okay, here's what my economic realities are. You're still then going to be, starting the ex parte business, and then you're going to be involved in another lawsuit, which is going to be very time consuming. So you'll be busy then. That's fair to say. Okay.
I would prefer not to be involved in the legal system anymore.
Oh, I'm sure. I bet.
I wasn't involved in it in my entire life until my husband filed for divorce.
I bet. Yeah. No, I realize that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Did you know Diana Dong was also declared vexatious?
No, I don't know.
I just wondered
No,
because
yeah.
you said you weren't really familiar with what that meant.
Oh, no. I know what vexatious means, but I don't know what it actually translates to. I know it means when a person's a vexatious client, they're bad news to the court or whatever, but that's a general kind of interpretation. I don't know specifically what that limits somebody to or whatever, so that's what I was kind of asking you.
Well, and I think that's probably important for you to know how it relates to my publishing business, how it relates to Diana Dong. I know that she's had a couple of incidences where, say, a landlord or a tenant or something, where a car accident where she might want to be able to sue somebody and not be able to afford a lawyer. She's not allowed to do that without first seeking permission.
Oh, I see. So
from the
there's some
courts.
real specific limitations. Once
Yes.
you've got that formal, it's a formal kind of a finding from a judge.
Sure.
And then that has some specifics. So for example, if you have another court case, you can't represent yourself, you have to have representation.
That's right, which means you have to have the money to be able to retain a lawyer.
Yeah, okay, all right.
And I'm going to have the money to retain a lawyer for public records that people aren't giving me.
Yeah.
And it's really a problem.
Yeah.
It puts
Wow.
an economic burden on my publishing business.
Okay. So as far as you and I communicate, and first of all, you're very articulate and I appreciate you're very clear, very responsive to the questions I have. If after this, if I think of anything, I'll just email you something. And if you feel appropriate, then you can respond or whatever.
Sure.
But I think I have enough general information to
Okay.
know what you've been doing since 15. And,
Okay.
and all
Well, and
that,
I appreciate you letting them
Yeah.
be here.
Very
It
much
makes
so.
me
Yeah,
better. And I'm
absolutely.
sure you know, like with crutches, some of us need
Oh,
something
yeah, I might.
else.
Yeah, because I got a real bad hip, and I've had some health, so I'm hobbling around all the time. So I've always been an empathic person anyway, but now I really am, knowing how hard it is to move around and what you need to do. So, all right, well,
Okay.
I want to thank you for
All right,
coming in.
thank you.
And I wish you the best of luck, too.
Thank you.
Well, it's nice meeting you.
Oh, it's nice
Thank
meeting you, too. Right, you take care. Yeah,
Appreciate it.
absolutely. Yeah. And let me just get your name again, just so I have your names. And your name again? Scott Largent. Okay, Scott Largent. Okay, Largent. And you're the ADD. Domestic violence? Okay.
They're very much kind.
Are you being treated for that?
But even so,
I'm scheduling those.
And then the other gentleman was again?
Stephen James.
I'm not
S-T-E-P-H-E-N.
Oh, wait, what's what?
S-T-E-P-H-E-N.
Oh, Stephen, okay. James, J-A-M.
Yes, I'm in my ABA.
And business partner in the,
Business associate, it's not a partner.
oh, okay, so business associates in the ex parte.
And we work on our nonprofit things together too.
Yeah, okay, all right, good.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay,
Take
thank
care.
you
All
too.
right,
Thank you,
bye-bye.
ma'am.